For those of you watching this later, hi. So we're gonna talk about goal setting today. Right, we're coming into summer, which sometimes for some people it's easy to kind of just like get into a summer groove where maybe fitness is harder to get motivated. Maybe we're just outside more, which is fine. But sometimes it can be nice just to have something kind of new or different to focus on to help keep us motivated and kind of keep us in our good habits that we've developed over the winter, right? And for some people who've been training for a long time, sometimes just need something new to kind of like give us a little more direction, right? So we're gonna talk about setting goals today, how to do it, why to do it. Come on. There we go. There's my dad. Hi, Dad. And some of the things that kind of derail people most frequently. So I've given this presentation probably 4 or 5 times over the years, and I change it a little bit every time as I get older and kind of learn more about like, okay, that's what I told people, but I saw this thing pop up a lot that kept getting people off track. So we're gonna talk about some of those things today. And then just the things to keep in mind to actually achieve our goals too, and not just set one and then set it and forget it, right? The old New Year's resolution thing. So this is not what that is. This is a way to actually get more specific with it, put together a plan, and then do that plan. Okay, so why should we set goals? This is one of the things that's been studied in social sciences like very extensively, right? Because there's a lot of people out there who want to know how to motivate people to do stuff, right? Marketing, etc., sports, like pretty much you name it. So there's a study done by a professor, like Dr. whatever, and all his buddies. They did a meta-analysis looking at of all the studies being done about goal setting and its effectiveness. Did it actually work? Like, what were the trends there? They found that 90% of those field studies involving specific and challenging goals led to higher performance than did easy or no goals. So even within goal setting, there's some that are more effective and less effective. But 90% of the time, it led to better performance, right? Having a challenging goal for yourself. So pretty compelling that this might be helpful for us, right? Right, and they found that there's just lots of different ways that setting goals affects us mentally, which again is really important for the gym, right? Gives you some focus and like a specific direction, and just helps you tune out some of the noise. Can give us more energy, right? Like when you feel like you've got like a strong purpose, like you just feel like you're more like willing and ready to tackle stuff. It'll help you stick with things longer, right? It gives us better persistence and like, right, we can deal with kind of hurdles easier if we have kind of this thing we're looking at down the road. And it actually helps us make better habits, right? Behavior change, that's huge. Like we're all about better habits here, right? So this is another tool in our toolbox to help us do that for the long term. Or maybe for the short term, maybe we just need something, like we're gonna kind of look at something kind of for like the next 3 months. That's kind of like our focus today, but it might be part of a longer term outcome you're looking forward to. So, questions so far? Feeling okay? So I want you to just take a minute here and think about 2021 so far. What we're like 5 months into the year. Got an interesting year, of course, already. But I want you to think back and take a minute here and think about maybe some of the things that what are the things you're most proud of achieving this year? Doesn't have to be fitness related, it can be anything, right? Anything we're talking about today, we're going to talk about it through the lens of fitness, but it can really apply to just about anything. And I want you to think about the time you felt the happiest, most confident, most accomplished. Like, what are the times that you felt like best about yourself too? I want you to think for a second. If anybody wants to share too, I think that can be helpful just to kind of get people thinking about it. Anybody have anything that comes to mind?
Last year, 2 years ago, my company went public, and so they bought out like all the employee shares at like 150% of their cost, like their value. And we were waiting for all those funds to come in. We thought it was going to take like till 2022, and then December going into January, I think January 1st, like all that money came in, so we were able to finish like paying off the last bit of our debt and then get our emergency fund up. And with a kid, like,
yeah, that's huge.
We were able to like jump on his 529 a lot faster.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All that good stuff. So
yeah, that's a good one. So if you
like that security.
If you couldn't hear that, for the folks at home, basically they were able to pay off a bunch of debt, right? Getting out of debt, being able to cross some of those things off. Financial security, that's a good one.
Which I realize is a big source of privilege. Like I'm very privileged, especially in this during the pandemic, and being able to do that.
That's okay. It's just still okay to like feel good about that, right? Yeah. Like we can understand both, right?
Yeah.
We're lucky to be in that position, but also it's still feels nice to be in that position. That's a good one, right? And this type of thing can definitely apply to financial goals too. Anybody else?
to a new
Yeah, moving to a new state. That's a big one. Yeah, right. You made it here. Like you're doing it. That's awesome. Yeah, it actually happened, right?
Yeah.
However many like years in the making that was.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. So I said, moving to St. Paul, that was Allison, if you couldn't hear. That's a big one. Cool. Yeah, I'm trying to think if I had anything, especially big this year. I don't know, just the fact that like a year later after the pandemic, the gym is still going, and I would say better than ever in a lot of ways, feels pretty good. Feels pretty good. So definitely makes me feel confident that like we're on the right track with that too, right? So it's good to come at this stuff like, you know, starting with bright spots. Like when we think about goals, like what are the things that I enjoy the most that make me feel good? That's a good way to start with it, right? So this is kind of the process we're going to go through here today. We're going to do a little bit of brainstorming to kind of think through like what are some of the different things that I'm thinking about when it comes to goals, like maybe some are fitness or business or financial or parenting or whatever. We'll prioritize a little bit, right? We can't tackle everything at once. So we've got to pare it down a little bit. We're going to pick a goal and then kind of set ourselves up for like looking at what are the things we actually need to do to make that goal happen. Because spoiler alert, that's the really important part, right? And then we'll talk about accountability and like kind of staying on track and everything at the end. Some of the options that the gym can provide for you and just some other just like general advice on that too. So there's Joanna doing some back squats. Hi, Joanna. So SMART goals. This is probably something most people have probably heard before. This is kind of like the gold standard of goal setting. Like, and if you Google like how to set goals, this is probably the first thing to come up. So, and it's something that I've always like kind of pushed in the past too, but I've definitely learned, especially with a couple of these letters, like I think I had kind of misunderstood the right way to do that too. So we're going to talk about that. So SMART goal stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. So I'm going to give you an example of like a typical SMART goal. Like I want to snatch 185 pounds by the end of the year, right? It's a specific movement, specific weight. So it checks the S. It's measurable, like we're measuring how much weight we're lifting. It's attainable. I mean, that's going to depend on the person. Is it, you know, I don't know, is it Jackson trying to set this goal of 185 or is it me or is it Aaron? Like it depends, right? So the attainable part is totally dependent on the person. Relevant, I mean, if it's a goal that you're thinking about setting, it's probably relevant for you, right? And time-based, so it has a specific end date there. So that's kind of typically the type of SMART goal that I've had people work with in the past, but we're going to change things up just a little bit, just to give ourselves a little bit broader definition of success at the end of our time base, right? Because that's important. So some of the big pitfalls with SMART goals, when it comes to specific, I think it's really easy to be too specific, right? We can be not specific enough. We want to hit the middle, right? Because the thing with the specific outcome, like snatching 185 pounds, right? Like it's a very specific number I want to hit. We can't really control that outcome. Like I can't just know that if I do X, Y, and Z, I will absolutely be able to snatch 185 by this date, right? There's a whole slew of different, like you do these actions and it's like there's a filter, like your genetics and your sleep and your stress and all that stuff that's happening. And then on the other side of that filter is like the actual outcome. So that middle part is so different for everybody, right? You could take 3, 10, as many people as you want, have them do all the same stuff. Filter happens. Some of them are probably going to hit that number. Some of them might not. Some of them might way exceed it. It's just going to be different for everybody. So if we get too specific with that outcome that we're looking for, and like that specific number is our goal, it can be really easy to feel disappointed. Like, what if I only snatch like 180, right? Does it feel like failure? Maybe, probably, if you don't go in with the right mindset. So we want to think about being specific with our actions and a little less specific with the exact outcome, right? If we can. Because we can't control outcomes. We can only control what we do. Does that make sense? So too specific might be, I want to add 20 pounds to my back squat is like the specific part of the goal, right? Casting aside all the other parts of SMART right now. I think a better example would be, I want to increase my 1 rep max back squat, right? So you probably know what yours now. Doing more than that, that's going to be good, right? That's going to be good. We don't know exactly how much we're going to increase by, but we can know if I do these things, I will likely get stronger. I don't know exactly how much though. Not specific enough to be, I want to get strong. Like that's just not, like the number of actions that we could do for that are so broad and huge that it's just going to be overwhelming. So we have to be a little more specific, right? Let's pick a lift or, you know, even like okay, I want to get stronger in my legs, right? We can get a little more specific than that. So we want to hit that happy medium with our outcome that we're looking for. Cool. Now, some people might fight me on this and say we have to pick a specific number. Fine, that's okay. You can do it that way. And then at the end of the SMART, there's the time-based piece, right? So that's the other thing that, like, if we set a specific date, like I need to get a snatch by this date, you can see where this could easily go off the rails, right? Like things come up in life, like even if I follow the exact plan I come up with myself and I do all those things, I still might not hit that number by that date, right? There's all that whole filter stuff in between that's just stuff that's out of your control. So instead of being specific with like, I need to do this thing by this date, especially with fitness stuff, right? There might be times where like, I need to pay off debt by this date and like, okay, it is like kind of a hard stop. But if we have flexibility, we should use it a little bit because we can't control exactly when that outcome is going to happen. We can control what we do. So instead of using time-based as like almost like an ultimatum, like it has to happen by this day, we want to use it as like I'm going to check in by this date and see how things are going and reevaluate what I'm doing. If I'm getting stronger and making progress, great. Let's keep doing what we're doing. Maybe we need to tweak some things. If I'm not, it doesn't mean I failed. It means like, okay, what I'm doing isn't working. Let's adjust. So it gives you a chance to like know, okay, I'm just going to follow follow my plan until this date, and then we'll reevaluate rather than like, I have to do it by this date. Because what happens if you get sick for 2 weeks or something, right? Or some crazy things happens, suddenly you're already derailed and like, you're going to feel like you failed, even though you probably did. You follow me on this? So it's just a little, it's just, maybe I'm just arguing semantics a little bit, but I think it's important to keep these things in mind. So ultimately, I think having some flexibility in what that outcome is and when it happens is going to help us stay on track a little bit longer if things go wrong. So you can probably see kind of where this has been going. People too often with SMART goals focus on the outcome and not the things you actually need to do to get to the outcome you want, right? So we need to set our goals based on the actions that we need to do, not necessarily just on the thing that we want. Right? So we set a goal of like, I'm going to do these things because I want this outcome, not I'm going to set my goal to be this outcome. Just a little different way of looking at it, right? So it's kind of like an outcome goal and there's process goals, right? The outcome would be like, I want to snatch 185. The process would be, I need to snatch twice a week. I need to eat more protein, like that sort of thing, right? So that's kind of where we're going with this. We're gonna talk about both, right? Because I think it helps to like ultimately, like when you think of goals, you're probably thinking of outcomes, and we start from there, but then we build up what are the habits, processes, everything I need to, right? So here's just an example of some outcome goals. Back squat 500 pounds. It's not on my radar. Again, is that attainable for me? No, definitely not. For Jared, maybe, I don't know. Things like that, right? A specific like thing that we want to achieve. Maybe that's being debt free. Maybe that's like, starting your own business, a revenue goal for your business, whatever. It's the what, it's the end result we're looking for. And the process goals are the way we get to those end results. It's the things we're actually going to do, like our plan to get there. So, right, you see those are like habits. Like that's what we're trying to get ourselves to do. Is like, what habits do I need to do to get stronger on my snatch or run a mile under 9 minutes? So our outcome kind of gives us like kind of our destination, or at least the geographical region we're trying to get to, right? And our process is what is the steps we're going to take to get there. Because we can't control the outcome, but like the timeline especially. All we control is what we're doing. You hear me say that about 20 more times because I feel like it's just super important with this stuff. So we focus on what's in our control. Where we're at right now, we're going to take a few minutes to just brainstorm some of those outcomes we are looking for. It can be as specific or broad as you want it to right now. Like this is just kind of a brain dump. We can make it like SMART in a little bit. We'll work on that. So just writing down some ideas. I'll put some tunes on. We'll take a few minutes and we'll do that. We'll come back in a sec here. Some elevator music on for you. Perfect. Snatch 185. Wait.
I'm gonna go get my glasses. So
Okay.
Squint. Yeah, don't get a headache. Well, they're not these are my backup glasses, but they're gonna be better than nothing.
any folks around today.
I just saw someone in the hall. Of course, he didn't have on one either. So,
Are you working on your unassisted pull-up?
Someday. Work up to 20 unassisted reps with Jackson hanging on my legs.
Okay.
Just kidding. He would like that.
How old is he?
4.5. Almost 5 and 6. Yeah, spell all the time. When's my birthday? Is it my birthday soon?
Lincoln's daycare sent me a photo. They brought a fire truck into school.
Oh boy.
Yeah, he freaked out apparently. And they weren't originally gonna let the kids on, but they took a picture of him sitting next to another 2-year-old. Just like head and shoulders over that kid.
Jackson would be that 2-year-old.
He's very, we put him in shorts and a t-shirt that he had last summer. And it was like a crop top. And that's it, short. It is, we let him wear it. We went for a walk.
Jackson's really been sprouting though. He's grown like another like half inch since his half birthday.
Good night. I think Blake's going
He's
through it.
he's finally on the growth curve.
I mean, kids are all different and they're just as big. They're just the size of the
I know, like
Yeah.
Luca feels huge to us, but he's like a 50th percent. He's like a very average baby. But used to like we're used to Jackson, who's just like a little string bean.
Right,
So Luca's like Michelin man, so he feels so heavy. And Jackson was like, I was holding his hands like this, and he was basically like walking by his hand. Crawling.
Yep. How old is he now?
Luca's 9 months.
Yeah. Lincoln walked before he crawled. And he didn't walk
Yeah.
until he was 18 months old.
Jackson went like straight to like bear crawling, like hips up in the air,
Oh, wow.
and that lasted like a couple weeks. I think it was at the Granite Games actually that September that he took his first steps. Like 11 months probably.
That's exciting. Like an exciting place to do that.
Yeah, I know, it was cool. Yeah, that was last minute. It's like Virgo.
We use Adam to think school, squat pads and pounds and run a
So 5 mile
5-minute mile in the same day.
in the same day. Disgusting.
so running a beer mile is probably.
Beer mile.
But
Hey, I'm not here to judge your goals. I'm just here to help.
wasn't it Austin Malialo that deadlifted like 600 pounds and then like 10 minutes later ran a marathon? Okay.
Yeah. Some freaky fit people out there. Austin Malio is like built for deadlifts though. Like he's got like the perfect, such long arms. He's like, and he's like locked out like here. Like his chest can be like here in his like deadlift setup position.
Doesn't have that long of a pull.
No, still very strong hamstrings though.
Yeah.
All right, friends, we'll give you 30 more seconds and then we're gonna continue on. All right, the goal today isn't necessarily to come away with like a fully fleshed out, 100% perfect plan or SMART goal or whatever, right? Like sometimes it takes a little more time than that. So don't feel like you have to know everything right now. All right, let me turn off the elevator music. Okay, so hopefully you figured out at least a couple things that you're looking at here. And now we're just going to think a little bit about how to kind of pare it down. So like if you wrote 5 or 6 different things, it's probably too many things to focus on, right? I think at least with fitness stuff, it's been helpful for me to have like 2 things to work on, right? Like that are kind of a little bit different. So you're not getting burned out. Like if I'm just thinking about snatch all the time, like maybe I'll do like, I want to get better at some gymnastics thing and a strength thing. So maybe we have 1, maybe we have 2 that we're kind of putting as top here, but I want you to label each of those kind of outcomes with A, B, or C. A being like, this is the most important, or what I want to focus on the most. And then B would be like, maybe not right now, but you know, later. And C is like, okay, we're just not gonna keep going on this one right now. So it's up to you. You can think about like, can I combine any of these, right? Like if squatting and deadlifting are both on your goals, like a lot of overlap there. We can kind of just put those together. Are some of these gonna just for sure not fit our SMART criteria, right? Like, I don't know, this just isn't relevant to my life right now, or that's actually probably not attainable, which again is different for everybody, but, or is something we can't really measure. We can measure just about anything, but yeah, so we should kind of come out of this little part here with like, I would say 1 to 2 should be A goals. 3 is too many A goals. That's going to probably spread us pretty thin. Okay, so now just for the sake of today, I want you to kind of pick 1 of those A goals to kind of keep going down the rabbit hole with, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be the one that you end up kind of choosing to go after if you do, but I want you to think about kind of that why, like why are this goal important to you? Why is this the one that you want to choose? Right, it doesn't matter how good of a plan you have or kind of your mental toughness or whatever. If you kind of get started on a goal that doesn't have a very strong why attached to it, right? Or you might get there and realize like, this doesn't make me happy at all. I have Andre Agassi on there, one of the best tennis players of all time, but also famously hated tennis, like was miserable his whole career, but he was really, really good at it, right? So we want to, right, not that you're all going to become like, you know, world-renowned professionals in your goals, but right, you get the idea, like, great, I can snatch that, but like, I don't actually like snatching that much. I just felt like I should be able to snatch that much, right? So just take a minute to consider that. And think back to the times you felt most accomplished this year or just in the last couple of years. Like, what do those things have in common? What do I want to feel when I accomplish this goal? Or how do I think I'll feel when I accomplish this? Is it something I feel like I should do or something I actually want to do? And sometimes we do have to go after those things we should do, right? Like, I don't know. But it helps to at least then think of like another deeper why. Like, why will this help me if I do it, even if I don't want to, right? Like paying off debt. Is it the funnest thing to do? No. But usually it means if I do this, I will have these types of freedoms or it will help me in these other ways. So you can think about those. And now we're on the self-assessment part of your paper here. So there's 3 categories: the supports, the things that you know are going to help you, like the people, the resources, the things you have in your corner that will help you be successful. The barriers are some of those things that you know are going to be tough for you, right? And like I said here, it's not a list of excuses. Like we all have things we know, like if you have kids or time is really restricted or your sleep schedule is jacked up, right? Those are things that are very real and it will make some of these things harder. And it's okay to acknowledge those now. We're not just saying like, well, I definitely won't be able to do it. It's just, these are some of the things that I know I'm going to have to work around. And then the last part here. So again, I'll give you a little time to actually fill this out. So don't feel like you have to like do it all right now. What are some of those things we're actually going to have to probably do to make this happen? We don't have to know exactly which ones we're going to do. Like just start again, like kind of brainstorm, like what are some different things that I might have to do to make this happen? And we'll kind of, again, like prioritize, pare things down again. So this is just kind of like starting with like, here's what I've got. Here's the things that I think might get in the way that I need to work around, and knowing those things, what are some of the steps that I might take to do this? So we'll take a minute here for you to start writing this stuff down. I can tell every one of you, you can write me as one of your supports because I love this stuff and I will help you in any way I can, even if it's not fitness related whatsoever. Not an expert in everything, but I can at least, help you talk through some things. So we'll take a couple minutes here. I'll turn our elevator music back on.
Are we doing this for all of the?
No, just the one, pick one A goal to do this for.
Okay.
There would be a lot of overlap in probably your supports and barriers for a lot of these, but pick your top 8 goal, or just pick one to start. If you can't decide, just pick one. It's more about the exercise today than anything. Yeah, let's take time for the supports, the barriers, and the habits here. We'll give you a good chunk of time here. There's no right or wrong. It's gonna be different for everybody, so don't overthink it. Cool. That's helpful. Give you about 2 more minutes for this part here, and then we'll kind of talk through some examples. So just real quick, I'm going to put the next slide up here too. It's got just more kind of just different kind of categories of things to think about for those habits and actions. You feel like you're not sure what to, just some ideas. All right, friends, we're gonna bring it back together and keep writing things down as they come to you here. But so kind of the crux to all this is we need to build some new habits, right? If we have a goal that we want to work towards, we need to figure out some things that are going to help us get there, some actions we can take, and kind of focus on that, right? So these are a lot of the different kind of, you know, especially for something like a fitness goal, a bunch of those different categories, right? Kind of a holistic approach to it. But with any goal that you're trying to approach, there's things we can do, right, that we kind of build on each other to ultimately get to that outcome, right? Like for me with like the gym business, for example, a habit that has helped me a lot is actually like taking time every month to like review my metrics for the last month, right? Like that sort of thing, right? It's pretty important. But there was a time, especially first go around, where I didn't really pay attention to that stuff. So not super helpful, right? Making decisions without any information, not a great idea. So getting the habit of giving myself more information to make decisions, good way to start, right? So that's just one example here. So here's just a kind of a one other example for you. If I want to get an unassisted strict pull-up, right? It's an outcome, like any person could potentially have that. Here's some of the things maybe we could do for this, right? Like, okay, I'm going to come to class, and anytime I see pull-ups like in the week's workout, I'm going to make sure I get to that one. Seems reasonable, right? If you're already coming to class 3 times a week, a little bit of a habit to maybe look ahead more and see what the workouts are, especially if you're not a look at the workouts type of person. But that's something that's going to help you get better pull-ups, right? Doing it more if you're already coming to class. Maybe I'm working on pull-ups, with some extra programming. I'm doing some stuff at home or doing skill sessions with the coaches. Maybe I need to start getting a little more sleep because I'm only getting 5 hours of sleep a night. And right, we know that getting more sleep is going to help us build muscle, recover faster, that sort of thing. Maybe I need more protein. I don't know. I have some question marks here, right, too, because you might have some things that are like, would this help? I don't know, maybe. Some of the questions we might need help with, right? So there's going to be a wide range of these type of habits, right? Some of them are going to be like very easy. They won't cost you anything. It's just like making changes. And some of them, right, there's going to be this wide range of like, this might be the absolute best optimal in a perfect world set of habits. We're probably not going to be able to do that right now. Maybe you can, right? Maybe time and money and everything is like, none of those are issues for you, but we have to think about what's the best doable option for me right now, right? So don't get hung up on, well, I can't do the optimal thing, right? Starting with something is better than not doing anything and waiting for those optimal circumstances because they probably will never come. It's just life, right? If you just wait for the perfect time, like the perfect time doesn't really come around. Very rarely does that come around, right? So the outcome I want here is to achieve an unassisted strict pull-up, but I'm not putting a specific date that I'm going to get that by to get the pull-up. My SMART goal that I'm actually going to say is I'm going to commit to 3 months of following these actions and habits so I can improve my upper body pulling strength, right? So I'm going to prioritize upper body and strength days when I come to class. I'm going to try a skill session, right? I probably can't, right? Time-wise, I can't do it every week, but I'm going to try one. I'm going to put together that doorway pull-up bar that's been sitting in my basement for the last 2 years and like try and get on it twice a week and see how that goes for 3 months and reevaluate, right? So we still give ourselves that time base, but it's more of like, I'm just going to do this for 3 months and like see how strong I can get on this stuff rather than, right, knowing we want to work up to this outcome, but I'm not going to have my hopes hinging on the fact that it happens in this first 3 months, right? Again, everybody's different. I've seen some people get their first pull-up in 2 weeks after like practicing a little bit, and some people it takes a really long time, right? Muscle building and strength is different for everybody. So this is just a different way to package it so we don't get hung up on specific dates for things that sometimes aren't in our control, right? Does that make sense? Kind of how we're approaching that, right? So the outcome and the goal are actually like they're dependent on each other, but they're different, right? We're not setting the goal on the thing, we're setting the goal on the things we're doing. So does anybody have one of their outcomes that they want to share with us, or a made up one if you don't want to share a real one, and we can kind of like talk through it a little bit?
I'll share.
Okay.
I would like to run a 25-minute 5K.
All right. Allison said 25-minute 5K. Okay, cool. Good. So that's a good outcome to work towards, right? Guessing it's probably relevant to you, but we know you're running this triathlon in September, right? So, right, relevant, like it's specific, it's something we can measure, it's attainable probably, right? So that's good, right? That can kind of fit in our general SMART framework. We kind of like think at a high level. So what are some of the things that we could do to get faster at running a 5K, right? Like there's a million different ways to do it, right? But just throw some out there, right? Run more. Yes, that's probably the gist of it, right? Run more is going to help. Run more is going to help. What else?
Practice breathing work.
Breath work could, yeah. Be able to kind of keep that heart rate a little bit lower, recover faster, all that stuff. That's great. What else could we maybe do?
I put building explosive
explosive power. Cool. Yeah. It's like just running faster is kind of the issue. Yeah, we're probably gonna have to.
Yeah, maybe like cleans or,
Sure.
shops or something that helps you with the power.
Yeah, supplementing our lower body explosive power. Great, love that. What else?
Prioritizing sleep.
Yeah, getting enough sleep is helpful, right? I mean, that's just basically any goal that you ever do. That's gonna help. Yeah, getting more sleep is gonna help. Anything else we can think of? I think maybe like,
Borrow Aaron's book on how to run faster.
there you go. Aaron's got a book about running faster for a 5K.
Because I actually did this like 10 years ago.
This exact goal.
My goal was to run 8-minute miles for a 5K.
Nice, there you go. So there you go. That's another thing. Like, yeah, is there book, literature, other like knowledge that I need, right, to supplement? Like maybe I don't even know what steps I need to take. Like step one might be that knowledge piece, right? Which could be reading a book, going on YouTube, right? There's a deep rabbit hole you can go down there. I would encourage you for a fitness or wellness related goal to talk to your coaches first. So we can help kind of like direct you, right, towards valuable resources. So you don't have to spend your time just Googling. Yeah, talking to your coaches, other friends, who are runners, like Kathy would probably be a great resource, right? She's kind of our running guru around here. So you can see there's like a broad range, maybe learning more about nutrition stuff for, specifically more towards endurance sports, any number of things we can do, right? Then we had to kind of take all those things and to kind of again, do that prioritization thing. Like which of these do we think will make the biggest difference? And which of these seem like the most doable? And like run more. That can be a very wide range. Are you running at all now? If no, like let's try and run once a week, right? Like what's doable for you is going to be different for everybody. We have to think through those things. Like what's the best doable version of this thing that I can do? And no, you can't do everything. That's another way to set yourself up for failure is if you just overload yourself, right? So maybe we get to, like, I don't know exactly what your goal might be, but okay, knowing I want to run a 25-minute 5K, you're going to try and run more. Let's say you're currently running like once a week. Let's see if we can add one more running day. Maybe you do like some intervals if you're not doing those yet. Like we'll have a longer day and an interval day or something, right? Whatever. Maybe it's going to be you're going to reach out to Kathy to talk more about it and reach out to Aaron about the book. And you're going to set like a time domain for like, I'm going to try this for maybe 6 weeks and then test again or whatever, right? Give yourself that thing. So that's kind of how we work towards it, right? Try not to knock this down. So that's what I tried to make like on this pull-up one too. I tried to think about what's something that seems pretty doable, right? Like there's a wide range. Come to more of the upper body strength classes. Doing pull-ups twice a week at home, sure. I think it's gonna be different for everybody. But just making sure you know when you're gonna check back and kind of circle back on it so you know if it's working or not is really helpful. Right, and for you do kind of have like a specific date you're hoping for that by. But by saying like, I want to improve my 5K time, like we can make a lot of difference on our 5K time. That's why if we have a really specific time we're shooting for, like if you improve by 3 minutes, but you're still not at that goal, we still want you to feel good about those 3 minutes. So that might be a case to be a little bit less specific with it, just to know that our outcome is like getting faster at our 5K time.
Right, or maybe the triathlon, I improve the time and keep working towards
Right.
this.
Exactly. You're going to have a check-in date, a firm check-in date that day of your sprint triathlon. So that'll give you a date as like a check-in. Like maybe you'll hit it there, but maybe not. Like if you do these things, you will progress, right? Like, this is not wasted time. You're going to get faster. If you get slower, okay, we'll talk about it. But that just means we need to do something different, right? Like at least we've learned. So even if you don't hit the goal by the date, you've learned some things that don't work and like can reevaluate, right? So that's kind of like the framework that I walk through this stuff for, right? And you don't have to know everything, right? That's the nice part. Like you have us, especially with fitness goals to help with. We're here for you to help you figure out what those action steps are. That's what these goal review sessions are for specifically, that we want you to sign up for with Kathy and Allison, is to sit down and talk through like, not only some bright spots for you and check in with just how things are going for you, but help you talk through like, what do those action steps need to look like? Here's like a best version, like fastest way we see. Here's like a good, like a better and a good. We'll give you kind of 3 options and you can kind of figure out like which of those is like the best doable option for me right now. So we're gonna try and help you be very specific with this stuff. Questions so far? Anything I'm missing? Cool. So these are just some of the like just general, kind of just more kind of pitfalls where it's easy to fall off here. So the things that I see when people are most successful with reaching their goals, it's having that specific plan. Again, I cannot like harp on that enough, but it's specific in a specific way, right? Having some accountability, like actually asking for help. So someone else knows what's going on so that you can ask questions about it, right? Like for me, I have a business mentor for the gym that every month I know I'm going to meet with her and she's going to help me pick out what specific things should I do in the next month before I meet with her again. And like, that's it, right? Because there's a million different things I could be doing out there. I don't always know. So having someone else kind of looking, okay, here's everything you could do. They help you prioritize. So finding someone to talk through it with, help you prioritize, help you adjust when life gets weird is really, really helpful, right? Maybe it's a coach or a friend or somebody who has ideally more knowledge about these things than you, but maybe it's just your parents. I don't know. Everybody's different. You guys know we always are trying to celebrate bright spots in here, right? So celebrating progress over perfection. You really can't, it's not really possible to like waste your time if you're trying to work hard towards a goal and you don't get it. Like I said, you've still learned some things. You've still spent valuable time doing these things. So celebrating your little wins, even if you're not at your ultimate 185 snatch, 25-minute 5K or whatever yet, getting faster is good, right? Getting stronger is good. So keep that like, maybe even like every month, like write down a couple things that have gone well for you and having lots of different types of metrics, which we'll talk about in a sec. And the last piece is like just avoiding comparison, especially with other people. There's gonna be other people who are probably working towards similar goals in the gym, but remember that whole middle filter thing we talked about, like genetics, starting point, life, craziness, all that stuff. Like you might be starting out in the same point and do a lot of the same things, but come out with different outcomes 3 months from now. That's okay, right? Because you can't control that whole middle filter. All you can control is what you're gonna do. So don't compare yourself with other people on this stuff. Comparing yourself with where you were a few months ago, right? When you started working on it, that might be a little bit more useful use of your time, right? So I'm just going to give you some different options of ways that the coaches specifically can help you be accountable. Some of the things that we've kind of set up and that we've done that have worked well in the past. Like I said, this goal review session is, if there's any one thing you take away from this, it's sign up for a goal review session. because we're going to talk about this stuff specifically for you and help you work through what those habits need to be and how we can support you in that. And what other knowledge do you need? Do you need a more specific, like a physical therapist or something? Like we can help you connect with those other resources if it's not specifically within our realm. But we're here to help, right? We're here to support you with that. So Kathy and Allison are doing these goal setting sessions. They've emailed out the link to sign up for it. Again, it's free, 20-minute session. And it gets you a bingo square. So, right? If there's anything else, like do that. So that's like a super easy, low hanging fruit, right? It doesn't cost you anything other than a little bit of time, and probably some mental energy. We also, right, we can do one-on-one training stuff. So especially post goal review, that might be something to look at, right? We'll build these things out specifically for you, whether it's like pull-ups or 5Ks or whatever, like we'll help you work on your specific goals with some one-on-one training. So it can be a one-time thing, or it can be every month, every week, whatever, based on your goal and how aggressive you want to be. And we also put together this cool little, we call it accountability accelerator. It's like a 1 month, like hyper focus, like let's see how much progress we can make in a month, or maybe we can stretch it over 6 weeks. So you get 4 one-on-one sessions, 4 weeks of at-home programming for it, and kind of a little bit of extra support, right? Maybe we're doing video review of your Olympic lifts or whatever, and then we'll check in again at the end of those 4 weeks to kind of see what we need to adjust to. So just some different options, right, to help you keep moving forward. But at the very least, we hope we can at least talk with you about it and point you in the right direction. So last piece is just that reevaluation thing, right? That's key at the end, right? Okay, I've put in the work for X amount of time. Having a lot of different measures of success and things to look at. It's the same in the gym, right? We don't just focus on like the scale, for example. There's a million other things we can look at, subjective and objective. So objective is like data, like can I lift more? Great. Subjective on that might be, can I lift better? Also important, right? Those are both important things. Am I feeling better? Do I have more energy? Am I more confident? Like, so those are some of the other things you can also write down at the beginning, like how am I rating my confidence on this movement right now, or with my ability to run a 5K? and then reevaluate that and see what you put before, right? Also just looking at like, have my circumstances changed? Am I still having fun? Is there something I feel like I'm missing that I need to add into the mix, right? And just kind of like look at it on more of that like cyclical basis versus like this is it, baby. Like climbing Mount Everest. If I don't make it, I'm going to die trying. Like that's just not the way to be successful in the long term, right? We're all about longevity. We want this to be fun for you and be successful. So we set ourselves up with this way to kind of have a plan and a process, but have enough flexibility and things to feel good about it by the end, right? That's what we're here for ultimately, right? We're not trying to set you up to feel bad if you can't snatch 185 by next week. This kind of speaks for itself, right? The most important thing, if there's anything to take away from this, it's you actually have to do something to make these things happen. So like, don't wait for like yourself to have the perfect written down plan. Like for Allison, it might be just like, yeah, I'm going to try and run an extra 5 minutes this week than I did last week, like whatever. Imperfect action is going to be way more valuable than waiting for the perfect plan, right? Tell myself that with the gym stuff all the time. My mentor tells me that all the time, just like you need to do stuff and then good things will happen, right? You can't sit and wait for it to come to you. That's kind of the deal. Any questions? No further questions. Cool. All right, well, that's the end of my little dealio here. If I can hang out for a while, if anybody wants to chat for a little bit about your own specific goals, let me know. Sign up for a goal review session. Do it. It's going to be worth it, right? If nothing else, you get to hang out with Allison and Kathy for a few minutes for free. So good. Yeah, Allison's doing this back
Minute
there.
21, then 1 week gets just $50 a minute.
Yes, to minute 21. Yeah, we start going up from there.
Like Chris said,